Go.
Hello, good afternoon everybody. Matt here from TrustLinks, Chief Exec. So obviously I'm at home, as we all are supposed to be. Just do a bit of gardening in between doing all of my emails and Zoom calls and everything else that we've been doing today. So earlier I got the spider plants from my house that have been in my been growing in my house for quite a few years really, and the spider plants have kind of been a bit neglected, but they kind of thrive with neglect, which is lucky. So this is the sort of example of the spider plant that's been cascading in my house, and then they've been growing little baby spider plants off. Well, so they kind of grow like this. We've got two types of spider plants. I've got a green one and a variegated one. The variegated one having little bits of white, as you can see, and the green one, which is this. So what I've been doing is basically taking the little baby spider plants and potting them up, which Clement, my son, helped with earlier as well. So we've got quite a few that we've made earlier, which Naomi, if you want to show down there. So quite a few spider plants. Spider plants are really good in the house, partly because they cope really well with neglect. People, you just water them occasionally and just leave them and they keep growing and they grow lots of babies. Partly also they're good because they breathe and they produce oxygen in the atmosphere, and that's really good just for the general atmosphere within your house, within your room. So maybe in the bedroom or the living room or another room that you've got, you can use them, and then they make lots of babies, and then you can give them to other people, and then they can be really happy and think that you're being really generous. So over the weekend I tidied up my shed and found a load of old pots. So rather than chucking them out, I'm going to reuse them for planting up the spider plants. What I tend to do is put a bit of newspaper in the bottom of the pot so the soil doesn't all come out, because if you just put the compost straight into the bottom of the pot, it often comes out, and then when you water it, it all comes everywhere. So I put a little bit of Southend Echo in the bottom of the pot, just to stop it from coming out. Fill it with a bit of compost. Have we got anybody watching, Naomi?
We have 6.
6 viewers, wow.
And 2 comments. Let me figure out.
Yeah, tell me what the comments are.
Jackie says, going into spider plant business, Matt.
Yeah, I could. I can make a lot of money out of spider plants. I don't think they sell for very much, but if people want to offer me a donation for a spider plant, in aid of TrustLinks, of course, then that would be great.
And Victoria says, hi Matt.
Hi Victoria, nice to have you watching. So the great thing about the baby spider plant is that it grows beautifully, more leaves, and then it grows roots at the bottom. So you can kind of see, this one's a really good example of where this has been attached to the parent spider plant, and then it's grown some lovely roots at the bottom, so you know which way to put up the plant. So it really is probably the easiest horticultural thing. I think quite a few of these originate from when I was a teenager.
No.
And they've kind of travelled around with me and have ended up where we live now. So you just literally fill up the pot and then put a hole in and put the spider plant in, and then yeah, I think the roots just kind of take and grow, and then if you're not careful they all grow out the bottom of the pot as well, because the roots will just keep growing. So probably the easiest horticultural lesson you'll ever have. As you can tell, I'm not really a horticulturalist, but I quite like outdoorsing, a bit of gardening. Also like to bring it indoors, and actually the more time we're spending indoors at the moment, the better it is to have various indoor plants if you've got the space to do it. So that's a good thing. And then we're just going to store them and then make sure they're all nicely watered. I've freed up a bit of space in a potting shed, so I'll probably leave them there because they might be susceptible to the frost, which is why you'd have them indoors. particularly over the winter, and then they'll just keep growing, and you can neglect them happily, and then they will they'll thrive in your space, and they'll keep giving you fresh air. So I'll do a couple more while you're on. Have we got any other comments? Anybody wanting to say hi?
You've had up to 12 viewers.
12 viewers, wow.
I know. Jackie said that the newspaper was a good tip.
Thank you.
Kirsty said afternoon, Matt.
Hi, Kirsty.
Victoria said spider plants all round.
Yeah. Come for a modest donation. I don't know how much people would be willing to pay. But definitely spider plants, and then you can choose whether you want a variegated or a green one. I don't know what a non-variegated variety is called. Probably non-variegated.
Normal.
Gareth
said, hi Matt, nice to see you.
Hi Gareth, how are you? Been sorting out all the IT. Oh look, there you go. So this is a good example of the roots all growing through. If you neglect it long enough, which clearly I have with this one. This obviously was a tiny baby one when I put it in probably about, don't know, 10-15 years ago. And it's grown lots of roots there, as you can see. And it's kind of grown roots out of the bottom as well. So I think if I gently sort of free those roots up, maybe I need to repot all the spider plants that's in my house. That'd be kind of them, but
that'll be really long.
I've got time, so that's okay. Got the next few weeks. So I'm gonna possibly, yeah, there we are. So that's a root. That's called root bound when you have basically all roots. It's remarkable how they survive, isn't it? So if I find a bigger pot, probably this size pot that they would like, so I'll get a bit more of south. It's trying to rain on us.
Oh, nice. Shall I read out the other comments?
Yeah, go
there are
for it.
3 more. Lee says, great knowledge of spider plants.
Thanks, Lee.
Trisha says, I've been trying to find a spider plant for ages. Save
there
me
you
one,
go.
please, Matt.
Definitely.
And Alex says, hi, Matt.
Hi, Alex. Do you want any spider plants? That'll be your Easter present.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to, I think if you tease the roots so you don't laugh at them, but you can just sort of pull them apart a little bit, that'll help it to grow. But
15 what?
really, they don't need a lot of nurturing, these spider plants. They just need a little bit of water from time to time, and obviously some light. So put them in somewhere that doesn't have to be really bright or anything, just any sort of shelf or window ledge that you've got. A nice bit of compost. So yeah, my planning was to get lots of compost ready for sorting out the garden over the next few weeks. Yeah, and then occasionally you have to pull off these dead leaves, so sort of the external leaves just die. If you just pull them off, stick them in the compost, and then you've got, that will probably perk up now that I've repotted it. And actually, just looking at it, it looks like we've got, oh no, I was going to say we've got 2 plants, but it's kind of one plant that's sort of grown a bit wild, because they do. That's quite a big one now, isn't it? So you can be careful with the space that you put it in, because it needs to be able to fit the space. I'm sure I've got, if Anna or Tracy or Annette are on, they'll tell me that I'm doing it all wrong.
No one's told you you've done it wrong yet.
Never mind. It's worked for me for, don't know what, 20 years or so, 25 years. So,
Ross says, what do you put in your compost heap?
well, in our compost heap we put obviously all the vegetable
Roastings.
peelings, we even put the eggs, we put grass cuttings, we put bits from the garden, yeah, and chop it up and then stick it in the compost heap, and then it sort of rots away over the period. I must admit, this isn't from our compost heap, this is stuff we bought in because I wanted a nice stock of compost ready for sorting out the garden over the next few weeks. So we did get a ton of compost delivered the other day, and that's what this is. But definitely that compost, we'll be using the compost from our garden compost heaps for mulch to go on their plants and just give everything a nice bit of nutrients. And yeah, there certainly is lots of nutrients. And we get a lot of worms, a lot of very tiny worms. It's a real habitat for... I've never had a slow worm. I'd like to have a slow worm in our garden. I know a lot of other people do. And that looks quite cool. That looks like a bit of a snake. I might not need to do the watering because I think the rain's going to do it for us. I'll have to move it into the potting shed at some point.
Suzanne says hi and Mum says hi.
Hi Suzanne. Is Mum Eleanor?
Yeah.
Hello Eleanor.
And Lee says, Alan Titchmarsh beware.
Monty
I
Don,
don't even know
come
what
on.
that means.
Alan Titchmarsh used to be a gardening expert.
Monty Don.
Monty Don is obviously the one that we're aspiring to now, particularly with Tracy and her gardening, and then, yeah. We've never been invited to Gardener's World at Trustlinks, and we're
What a shame.
mightily disappointed about that, but maybe after all our live streaming we will be.
Yeah, it should be.
We should be. So we've still got a few left. Some of them, as you can see, I've deeply neglected these spider plants. That's one that was born and then died. But I think we've made enough, haven't we, to probably do the whole of at least Westcliff, if not the whole of Southend, to have a spider plant. There's a nice variegated variety. I quite like the variegated.
Yeah.
So thank you for all the people that have tuned into our live streams over the last week or so. I've really enjoyed seeing them and interacting with them and interacting with the people that have been doing them. It's been really great to see the wellbeing tips at 10 AM. Thank you to the amazing team that have really stepped up to the plate and done live streaming for the first time. It's all quite daunting, but people have done amazingly. And then 11 o'clock, the skills and tips, people have really enjoyed that, and been some amazing things already. There was a music video this morning that was really fantastic, so keep sending what you request. Also, if you've got offers, anything that you'd like to teach other people, maybe a little bit more technical than spider plants, but kind of in this world I think we can't be too technical. We just have to show what we know and share it and enjoy it with other people. Yeah, so thank you very much for everybody who's tuning in. So 3 o'clock is your in the garden session. Hopefully we'll also have some from Growing Together where people are going on their own to just check on the chickens and keep watering the plants and looking after the gardens, and just seeing kind of wildlife probably taking over a little bit as well. So it's really, really lovely to have this chance for people to tune in and engage online and keep in contact with each other, which is really important at this time of sort of national change, national issues, is just to keep in touch with other people, keep in touch with us if you're an existing member of Trustlinks, or if you've just want wellbeing support, or you know other people who need wellbeing support, give us a call. The numbers are all being redirected to mobile phone numbers now, so our number is 01702 213 134. You should be able to speak to Emma or Fiona or one of the team, who can take a message and then relay that on to a member of the team who can then call you back. As I say, if you've got anything that you'd like to live stream, or you'd like to send us photos of what you're up to. I know Marion sent some lovely photos of her garden and what she's been doing in her garden, and may well be doing some violin playing for us. So if you've got anything you'd like to share, we've got our regular schedule. We can program you in. So thank you very much. Any other final comments or questions, Naomi?
Keith Evans says, good to see and hear you, keep up the good work.
Oh, thank you very much, Keith.
And Jackie said, great Trustlinks video.
Thank you, Jackie. Yeah, so that's my in the garden slot. As you can see, we've got a slightly wildlifey garden, which has been sorted a little bit with recent events. So hopefully over the next few weeks we'll be able to show you some other things. I'm certainly no expert, but I'll have a go and share that with you, and I'm sure you can have a go and share stuff back with us. So thank you very much for now. Goodbye.